So this is after pulling the thermostat. The water pump hasn't come out yet, but it is at an angle, and I spilled a little bit. But the way you go about this is you pull this connector, which is a hook. You pull this one off of the top of the thermostat. I use a hook pick. And then a little wobbly with an 8 pulls out those 3 bolts. Right here. Undo this hose clamp here. It's in the shadow down there. And this comes off the bottom of the thermostat. You don't need to pull this off until it's disconnected. And then you can just kind of twist and pull and it'll come out. But it does empty the reservoir. So you end up losing, to correct my statement of you're not going to lose a whole lot of coolant, you end up losing a shitload. But you can undo this and then you just drag it over to the side. You don't need to unhook this smaller one. Should just be able to undo its little clamps, and it'll come free, enough for you to move it, because it's just rubber down there, and you can bend it out pretty good. But yeah, that's just the thermostat though. It's fairly simple. So for the water pump, I've already undone the serpentine belt. I've already taken this loose. The tensioner has what we call a grenade pin, but when you buy a new tensioner, it comes with a little kind of a shitty light situation there. You can't really see it. There we go. There's a pin that holds it under tension so that it doesn't spring up and you don't lose it and have to fucking redo it all. So what we do is, because I have a lift, is I put a block under the oil pan, and that raises the motor up. I take these 3 15s, this one's a bolt, and these 2 are nuts. I take these 15s off. I put the block on the ground and I lower the car onto it, and it raises the mount up. See, the whole engine's precariously set. For your garage, a scissor jack, if you put it up on, like if you use a jack and you bring it up, you can use a scissor jack and put pressure on the bottom of the motor. Just put a block in between the metal and the block, or the pan, and then use a scissor jack and just raise it up and release tension off these, because you're going to want this motor mount off, because this is your water pump and that's your pulley. There's 3 bolts, 3 11s on there, and then it's all the bolts that are around it. But that's how I get the engine set up, so that I can fuck around with all this stuff. Alright, so I pulled the motor mounts off over there. That's the one on the silver one goes against the block, and then the 3 on the black one go on top of the silver one. You can see the indents there on the right. Pull that off, and then next you're going to want to pull the water pump pulley off. These are a 10, sometimes they're an 11. You just put it on there, and what I do is I've already loosened these 2, but on the 3rd one, it's going to want to catch, so if you hold it opposite of the way it's going to rotate, so like at this angle, you just hit it and it's going to pull it away. Damn it. And you just pull against it and it'll break it loose. And then you just use your electronic ratchet. You pull those guys out. You're going to want to keep this pulley and not damage it, because you're not going to get a replacement on your new water pump. Your water pump's going to come just like the other one did. And you don't want to lose these bolts either, because you won't get new ones, I mean, unless you buy them. So those up there, pump pulley just comes off. Set that somewhere safe, and then now you can see all of the fancy dancy little bolts. And you are gonna have a clamp like this. You're gonna have these bullshit spring clamps. I recommend replacing this one with a worm clamp, which if you need, I can get one from work. That way it's so much easier to pull off the heater core hoses off the water pump. And then you draw your gasket on a piece of cardboard. You punch holes where all the bolts are, where all the bolt holes are in the gasket. And then, because all of these bolts are going to be different legs, there's about 900 of them in here. There's a couple behind this that you have to move. There's one, yeah, right here. There's one back here somewhere. But yeah, and then that'll come out, and then it just kind of falls out. But here's a better look at the, hold on, there we go. There's a better look at the tensioner, the way I have it set up. Just put it on here, put some tension on it, and this little flange will stick up enough for you to put an Allen key or something in that hole, and that holds the spring in tension so that this doesn't come shooting up and you don't have to fight the whole spring tension on it. Yeah, alright, so it comes off. You may need a little bit of persuasion on the heater core, and you just stick it back. You take your little pry tool, and you get behind it, and you just kind of pop it, and it's just gonna come flying out of there. You're gonna dump a bunch more coolant, but then it's off, and you can see based on that and this, it goes like this, and you can see where all those bolts end up on the water pump. And then now that this one's out, put that the thermostat, and you pull, I'm gonna need to get a razor blade in there, but you'll pull this gasket off, and then you'll take Scotch-Brite and clean up the surfaces, because this is a press gasket, so it gets stuck on the block, and the next one won't seal, actually, if you still have bits of this one on there. So I'm gonna take a razor blade to this, pop this off. You're gonna Scotch-Brite this, and then when you get your new one, your new gasket, we'll put it on the water pump with a few bolts in it so that it doesn't move around on you. So when you're cleaning this mating surface off, you're looking for this stuff, this orange stuff. You don't really want that. You want a nice clean stuff. So I sprayed this piece of Scotch-Brite with some brake clean, and you just kind of get in there. You don't want to use a whizzy wheel or sandpaper or anything like that, because you'll score the mating surface and it won't seal. If you just use Scotch-Brite, it comes off real nice. And then you'll do that for the whole sealing surface. And then for when you put the new gasket on, you don't do anything here. You just make sure this is dry, and the new gasket's actually metal, or like a metal, like a flexible metal core gasket, and so it'll go on real nice. So now you got your new water pump. You're gonna put your gasket on the back of it. You see how it's metally and all nice and stiff. You're gonna put some bolts in there. You're gonna put, I recommend these 3 bolts, but that's because they're easy and they're longer, except for this top one, which I'll take out when I actually go to install it. This is just to hold it together. But flip it around here. You can see it's metal core with regular gasket material. Now that it's installed, you just snug these up, all the bolts, and they all have different torque specs and lengths. All of them go to 71 inch-pounds except for this one and this one. These both go to an extra 30 degrees past the 71 inch-pounds because these ones go through the front covers. They need to be a little bit tighter. And make sure when you're doing this one, you pull, you're not gonna really be able to see it here. You pull this bolt that my finger's on, this one, not this one. Not that one. This one right here. After you've got those torqued to 71 inch-pounds, and the 2 bolts that need to be torqued an extra 30 degrees, you can put your pulley back on and tighten these up with your electric ratchet. If you are using a hand one, you can put a wrench on this and try to hold this still while you tighten these. It's kind of a pain in the ass, but you can do it. And then after that, you just run your serpentine belt back over in the way it's supposed to go and put some tension on this, and then take your grenade pin out and then release tension, and it'll tighten back up and you'll be all good to go. I recommend you run your belt and then put your motor mounts back on, because it's easier to see everything. So when you're going back together, these bolts, your motor mount bolts, these 3 here, you need new ones. These are torque to yield. So as they tighten, they turn into an hourglass. You can kind of see it there. You can kind of see the bend in it, just a little bit. So all 6 of these motor mount bolts, whoops, are torque to yield. And the way they go is like this. Those 3 bolts go into there.